no. Can we please talk about UFC Vegas 28? I think it's like UFC Fight Night like 189 at this point. Who knows? Lost count. All I know is UFC Vegas 28 is going live this week. This is the Burt Locker Fights in 15. I'm going to round up a few of the fights that I am really looking forward to and looking forward to placing some terrible bets on. And I'm going to do that in 15 minutes or less. I'm feeling it. The heavyweights are in town. There are more heavyweights than you can shake a stick at. I'm wearing my Brock Lesnar walkout t-shirt purely because Brock Lesnar is still the king of heavyweights. Oh, look how angry everyone's getting. Oh, come on. You know it to be true. There is still, at this point, no bigger money fight in heavyweight UFC MMA than Brock Lesnar. And that, search your feelings. You know it to be true. But yeah, anyway. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. So, I'm going to start off. These guys aren't heavyweights. They're 145ers. Jordan Leavitt versus Claudio Puelles. Sorry, that's a terrible pronunciation. But either way, right? Jordan Leavitt, he might not be a heavyweight, but man, he slams like a heavyweight. Go back and watch his slam on Chris Weidman. Woo! That was a hell of a slam. It was a disgusting knockout. He put his forearm on his chin and slammed the back of his head into the mat. It was nasty. And I bet Chris Weidman's head was sore the next day. Also, in case you're wondering, in case it wasn't obvious, I'm leaning towards Leavitt in this one because he is a serial killer. Look at the guy's mannerisms, right? Look at his mannerisms in the post-fight interviews and stuff like that. That guy has got frozen heads in his freezer. I'm telling you, he's an actual serial killer that does MMA, and he's just very skilled. He's very well-rounded. He's got great submissions. He can knock people out as well. And the knockout is where I'm going with this one, purely because Puelles, he's actually a very good submission artist in his own right. Whilst Jordan Leavitt, he's hit 8-0 now with his win over Chris Weidman. Puelles, he's like 9-1, I think, and out of those 9 wins, 5 of those submissions. So he's done pretty well there. He's very good at submissions, which is why I'm leaning towards the KO. I think the KO is a better percentage guess for Leavitt in this one, purely because Puelles, if he's slick at submissions, he likely knows how to defend the submissions, so it'll be more difficult, not impossible, more difficult for Leavitt to get the submission. I think Leavitt is going to knock this dude out, and that's +8. That's +8. So that is well worth having a go on. That is a terrible bet. Lovely stuff. So, moving swiftly on. This one is it's a Fight Pass prelim. I think it's the Fight Pass prelim headliner. And rightly so, because you've got Mason Jones taking on Alan Patrick in 155 pounds. Mason Jones, if you don't know who the hell this kid is, he lost his UFC debut, but it was a stonking fight. It really was. It went to a decision. But Mason Jones, he came up in Cage Warriors in the UK, which is why, Cage Warriors have their events on at a reasonable time for me to watch, which is why I like watching them. And this dude was the double champ. I think he was the featherweight and lightweight champion simultaneously, similar to what Conor McGregor did. He gave up those belts. He's headed over to the UFC. He came up short in his first UFC fight. However, I don't think that happens again. Mason Jones is so skilled. He's got I think he's got 5 black belts. I might be getting that figure wrong. I did try and look it up, but I remember in the last time he was on Cage Warriors, they were talking about how he's got black belts in 5 different kind of martial art disciplines, which speaks to the fact that he is very well rounded. He is extremely well rounded. He can grapple, he can wrestle, he can strike, he can do it all. He loves going for kind of fancy kicks and things like that. He's really, really fun to watch. Watch this fight. Fight Pass prelims, Joe, and it's free as well. If you download the UFC Fight Pass app, just give that a watch. Honestly, it should be really good. Now, I am saying Alan Patrick, he's on the other end of his career. He's hitting 37 now. He's lost 2 on the bounce. Last one he lost was to Bobby Green. Bobby Green's pretty good, but you don't really want to be losing those kind of fights, especially not at the age of 37, which is why I am taking Mason Jones in this one. I think that the first one, he came up short, but that's maybe octagon jitters, and it was a good fight as well. It was competitive, but I think he gets this one done. I believe he gets the finish. 1.91 for the double on the finish. Boom. Add that to the bet slip. I'm taking that bet. We've got Tanner Boser versus Ilir Latifi. Boom! At 265 pounds. Ilir is coming back to heavy. He's been at heavyweight once already. He fought Derek Lewis. It was a competitive fight. Derek Lewis beat him by decision, but it was a competitive fight. I think that Latifi, he needs to work on his gas tank, on his cardio, but the fact that he's had slightly more time to adjust to being a heavyweight now, I feel like he's going to have a much better time, right? Now, Ilir Latifi, like light heavyweight, I always used to love watching him fight because the dude, he's built like a fire hydrant. Like, he's literally just, he's so small and stocky. He's literally, I don't know how anybody moves that dude. He's so thick. It's ridiculous. And he's scary as hell. He's jacked. He's so jacked. And now that he's gone up to heavyweight, he's even jackeder. Is that a word? Probably not a word, but I'm keeping it. He is even jackeder at heavyweight. Ilir Latifi is really fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to this one. Now, as I said, he came up short against Derek Lewis. But Derek Lewis, he's next in line to the throne, isn't he? He's literally in a heavyweight title fight in his next fight. There is no shame in having your heavyweight UFC debut. I believe that Ilir Latifi did fight a heavyweight previously, but not in the UFC. So he made his UFC heavyweight debut against Derek Lewis, someone who is very high up in that division. And he came up short, but not by much. And it was a really good competitive fight. He grappled really well. And that's one thing that he does very well. His grappling and his wrestling. He uses his size. He uses his lower center of gravity to really great effect. And he can bang as well. He can also knock people out, but he likes to get the ground and pound as well, and that's where I think this one is going. Don't get me wrong, Tanner Boser is game. He is really game. He beat Philip Lins, I believe. He came up short against Andrei Arlovski in his last fight. However, that's, you know, there's no shame in that, because believe it or not, even though Arlovski has been doing it literally forever, like when they opened the UFC, I'm pretty sure they found Arlovski in a cupboard somewhere. But yeah, so there's no shame in losing to Andrei Arlovski, really. But Tanner Boser, he's coming off a loss. All I'm saying is that, is Tanner Boser as good as Derek Lewis? I would argue probably not quite. And Ilir Latifi looked really good against Derek Lewis, and he's only going to look better in this contest. So the fact that Ilir Latifi is coming in as an underdog here, I find that's interesting. It's interesting enough for me to bang some money on it. 2.63 as an underdog, Ilir Latifi to get the win. Any means necessary, son. You go out there and get it done. The stocky fire hydrant from Sweden is going to get his hand raised. I think it will be a knockout, a TKO stoppage, but that's not what I'm betting on. That's too risky because it could easily go to a decision. But yeah, Ilir Latifi 2.63. Banging that on the bet slip. And then we've got Walt Harris taking on Marcin Tybura. Another heavyweight feast of a matchup. Beautiful. Walt Harris against Marcin Tybura, that's a hell of a matchup, because at the end of the day, this is a huge fight for Walt Harris. He's coming off two straight losses, but they're to two of the best in the division. I mean, you've got Alistair Overeem, who is as game as they get, and Volkov, who is the dark horse of that division. Alexander Volkov is going to get that belt, I think. He's so difficult to deal with, that dude. And look, Walt Harris, he's just a little bit too inexperienced, and this is why I don't really like this matchup for him. I think it's a horrible matchup, because Marcin Tybura, he's really experienced, and he is tough as old boots, and he's kind of good everywhere. Whereas, like, you know, Walt Harris, he's shown he's explosive, he's got really good, like, explosive power, but he doesn't seem to be able to manage that gas tank particularly well. And I think that Marcin Tybura, he's experienced enough to exploit the inexperience of Walt Harris here. Don't get me wrong, Walt Harris, he could easily put your lights out, but I think that, yeah, it's just I wouldn't mind seeing Walt Harris win, because he is explosive and he's fun to watch. But gun to my head, I'm taking Marcin Tybura, and I'm taking the stoppage. I don't think he will get the submission. I think that Tybura is going to get him on the ground, and he's going to pound him in the face until the referee pulls him off. That's what she said, or he said. Oh. But yeah, either way, 3.50, that's actually a pretty good price for that, because I do think it's the most likely outcome. Marcin Tybura is coming in as the favourite in that one, but when you're specifying the method, yeah, TKO, Marcin Tybura, bang that on the bet slip. Either way, that's going to be a fun fight. It's going to, you know, that should be fireworks. To be fair, all these heavyweight fights should be. Then you have got the main event of the evening. This one I cannot wait for. Biggie boy Jairzinho Rozenstruik is going in against Augusto Sakai. Now, Augusto Sakai, he is really good. Like, Joe, he's got good power. He's a pretty decent all round, but he hasn't had much luck kind of recently. Same can be said for Rozenstruik, except like he is a stand-up fighter. He's a kickboxer. Do you know what I mean? Primarily. I think that, you know, Sakai, his best chance is to try and get this to the ground. I don't think he wants to stand with Jairzinho Rozenstruik, because Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he looked... Obviously, he got KO'd by Ngannou. No shame in that. Ngannou, like, you know, if he just looks at you funny, he can put you to sleep. And his next loss was to Ciryl Gane. Now, Ciryl Gane, he's, you know, arguably next in line to the throne. Like, I mean, he's one big win away. And Ciryl Gane, he's a problem at heavyweight, right? And he's just so technically good. And the problem with that fight is I felt like Rozenstruik, he wasn't pulling the trigger. Every time Rozenstruik went forward, he was looking fantastic. And I'm hoping that he's getting past that mental block and he goes forward tonight and he puts it on Augusto Sakai. That is his best chance of winning. If he can go forward and put it on Augusto Sakai, then Jairzinho Rozenstruik can win this fight, because he's got the power and he's just technically, his striking is just technically very good. And Sakai, he struggled with the striking of Overeem, like, in his last fight, and that shows that, you know, that kind of style, it's a similar style, you know, the kind of Dutch kickboxer style. So with that being said, I am, gun to my head, it's Jairzinho Rozenstruik to get the win here. And he's going to get it done by knockout. The odds aren't great on this, 2.38, but I think that's just because it is likely to happen. So that is where my money is going. This is a huge fight. Biggie boy taking on Augusto Sakai. And I'm almost betting with my heart as well, over my head, just because I'm a huge fan of Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He's just one of those big, scary heavyweights. You know what I mean? He's got a kind of presence about him. And I would love to see him kind of get past that mental block that he had in the last fight against Ciryl Gane and get back into the win column and kind of get some momentum going in that division. I think it'd be really great. And yeah, so I'm putting that together as a fivefold, which is, woo! It's a terrible bet. Jordan Leavitt by knockout. Then you've got Mason Jones to get the finish. You've got Tanner Boser. You've got Ilir Latifi, to win any means necessary. Marcin Tybura to get the KO or TKO. And then you've got Rozenstruik to get the KO or TKO. And that fivefold right there is terrible. Comes in at 333.26, so about 330 to 1, guys. If that isn't worth a £1 bet, I don't know what is. I'll tell you why it's not worth a £1 bet, because one or all of those things are going to fall out. But hey, you know, it spices up the fights a little bit, and it's going to be a really, really fun night of fights. And if you're joining me on the Friday evening, thank you very much for subscribing to my Patreon. It is massively appreciated. You have no idea what it means to me. If it's the Saturday, welcome. If you want to see these picks on a Friday, then head over to the Patreon. If you're happy with them on the Saturday, I'm just glad that you watched. Please make sure to like and subscribe, because it means the world to me and it really helps me out. All of my social media deets are all up there. And I just, little side note, I'm not mentioning the Jake Paul Mayweather fight. I'm not going to bet on, well, I have bet on it. No, actually, I haven't bet. Sorry, yeah, I haven't bet on that one. I'm betting on the Woodley Jake Paul one. The Logan Paul Mayweather fight. I'm not betting on that. If there are no judges and no official winner at the end, I don't think that's really worth betting on. Will I watch it? Yeah, sure, maybe. Why not? It's a circus. Who doesn't love the circus, right? Anyway, until next time, keep all those odds long and those bets terrible.